saying statistics is something you have to master in my job. It's something we all kind of struggle with, but yeah, you get there eventually. So I'm from the Office of National Statistics, and we have a bit of an unfortunate reputation with our website in that until the last year or so, it wasn't really accepted as being a very good website. It has since changed, and we do our very best to kind of make our data accessible, but quite publicly people have condemned our website and said that it's one of the worst in the world. It's got gold buried in our data. I believe like if you speak to people in business areas, topic experts, they will tell you some wonderful things about the data, but it's stuff that they know. So there is gold there, but it's really, really hard to find it sometimes. So, although the title of this presentation is making stats more interesting, I think it's probably a little bit misleading, and I think the better title would have been Overcoming the Challenges of Engaging the General Public, Making Our Data More Usable Without Compromising on Best Practice or Oversimplifying Our Statistics. But it's not quite as catchy, so I didn't use that one. But as you can imagine, we do have quite a few challenges that we need to overcome in order to kind of share our data to its best potential. So the first challenge that we have is a numeracy challenge. I don't know whether any of you know about the Skills for Life survey in England, but it was carried out in 2003 and 2011, and roughly half of the population lacked level 1 numeracy skills. So these are the type of skills that enable people to kind of calculate things like simple percentages and check their pay and deductions on their wage slips. Now, it's actually quite a worrying statistic, I think, that half the working age population doesn't really understand numbers in this way. And something that's even more worrying is the fact that although people kind of don't understand numbers, and we have these figures, in 2011, 31% of adults surveyed rated that their numeracy skills were actually very good and then performed poorly. So they think they're good and they're not. They don't fully understand what the numbers are saying. So that's genuinely something that's quite difficult. Now, we do try and do this in a variety of ways, and something that we're looking at the moment, this hasn't actually been published quite yet, and it's still got some old data in here. But we're looking at kind of addressing things that are topical in the news. So the gender pay gap is something that we know is topical, is really important, and actually is something that needs a bit of explanation. I don't know whether anyone wants to shout out some answers here. How much more or less do male physiotherapists earn than women?
15% more.
15% more. 15.1, I'm going for that. So men actually earn 10.2% less than women. And although we've got the gender pay gap in terms of a percentage here, when we were kind of user testing this product, we were talking to people, and a percentage didn't necessarily mean very much. What we found is that people relate to the actual monetary value of their earnings. So what we've included here is the annual kind of full-time pay and the hourly pay for these jobs, because that's what people generally associate with money and earnings. So you're kind of free to do this in your own time, but I'll kind of whiz through a few of these examples, because you'll see they're actually mixing the type of jobs. So with things like chief executives and senior officials will always normally be calculated in terms of an annual pay, like people are paid annually, whereas some of the other occupations, something like a bar manager, actually hourly pay means much more to someone who works in a bar, because that's usually how they kind of get their shifts on an hourly basis. So these type of conversations are the ones that we have in our team to really make sure that we're putting things in context and explaining things in a way that people will understand. Something else that we've recently, well, I say recently, it's probably a year or so ago now, produced is a life expectancy calculator. And we kind of addressed life expectancy there in terms of an approximate figure on how long someone will be expected to live, but also we kind of explored the uncertainty around that figure and said actually, although that is the big number, you have a certain chance of reaching 100 as well, because often people are really surprised by those figures. So talking about uncertainty in a bit of a different way is also quite important. Something that we've also found can be quite useful is talking about percentages in a different way. So people might not understand the term 10%, but if you say 10 people in every 100, then actually that concept is much easier to visualise. So that context is just something that is always at the forefront of our decisions. Now, the EU referendum, as I'm sure you'll all be aware, was a prime example of where there was lots of data kind of available, and it was kind of in the news, on social media, it was everywhere. People were talking about things down the pub. But that data was quite complicated, and people weren't necessarily understanding what it was that they were looking at and reading about. So in our office, we tried to produce a few widgets to help explain some of the larger figures that were being talked about, and put them in terms that people could actually relate to. So we've got an ONS net contribution figure there, which is £9.9 billion. That is pretty massive in terms of the number. It doesn't really mean much to me anyway. I don't deal with that kind of money daily. I wish I did, but I don't. If you break that down in terms of a per week spend, per person spend, and per person per day spend, it starts to have a bit more meaning. So £6.79, okay, I can relate to that. It's cost of a couple of drinks on a night out, really. So that kind of context is something that is just very, very important, and putting things in that kind of easy to understand way, but without actually simplifying the data, is something that we're really seeking to do with all our data. We also produced an interactive looking at the contributions to the EU budget and how they differ depending on data source. Because actually there wasn't just one number, you could get quite different numbers depending on where you looked and depending on what factors were included in that value. So we had a series of widgets which we hope addressed some of the problems that people had understanding the data. The second challenge that we have is technology itself. It's advancing so quickly, and sometimes it feels like it's an uphill struggle to keep up. And it's not really sure what direction things are going in, so you might learn something and 2 months later it's obsolete and it's taken over by something else. Knowing when and where to pause and take a step back and kind of have a look around and assess the situation is something that is really important and shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. Mobile and tablet traffic is rapidly increasing. In terms of our own content, it's around 30% on our main site, our traffic from mobiles and tablets, and on our visual site, it's around 40%. So we really need to make sure that that audience is seeing the data in the same way, or a very, very similar way to desktop users. We can't really afford to skip those people. They are just as important as any other audience member. So smartphones and social media have made it much easier for people to get information quickly, and this is something that we really should capitalise on. We should see it as an opportunity to kind of learn new tasks and present things in different ways. But the graphics do need to be optimised for mobile, so things like social media images, often people will just screenshot something and then the text is difficult to make out when it's so small on a mobile phone. We need to make sure things are responsive so they are completely usable on a mobile. In terms of interactive content, that can be a real challenge sometimes. And We need to make sure that things are easily syndicatable as well. So things like iframing became much trickier when responsive design came into play, because you had to make sure that your iframing technique would work on kind of other media websites. I think there are probably a few painful lessons that our team, myself included, learned the hard way. I'd say that at the start of a project, it's really important to consider mobile and desktop design. Don't wait till the end. If you wait till the end, it will be horrendous. It's much harder to adapt something that works for desktop to work on mobile than it is to assess the situation at the front and make sure the design ties up. Things like using a grid system in terms of responsive design, that is by far the simplest way that I've found of designing responsively. I've gone down the custom route of kind of programming things that are kind of set by percentages and media queries, and there's an element of that I could still do, but I think having a grid system using things like Bootstrap have been like instrumental in getting responsive design working quickly and efficiently without having to kind of go through lots of debugging processes. I'd also say that although there's a lot of JavaScript libraries out there that can be really useful for responsive design and other kinds of interactive design, it's really important to test these on all browsers and as much hardware as you can get hold of, because you can guarantee that someone somewhere will have a browser or a phone or a computer that doesn't like your interactive product. So test, and test again, and do this right from the start, because there's nothing worse than thinking you finish something off to discover that it doesn't display properly. So this example here is an example of something that we have designed to be responsive. Everything on our visual site is designed with mobile use in mind. So this looks at household income and inequality. There's a little bit of quiz, so you can enter some data.
Did you make that a bit bigger?
Sorry. Better? I think with grey, you struggle to see a bit of the grey on the screen sometimes. So it works on a desktop. Just shrink this slightly. Oops. You see it scales to fit on a mobile as well. So all these considerations are things that we need to take into consideration when we're designing for the first time. The third challenge that I would say that we need to look at is best practice challenge. So just because we can do something doesn't necessarily mean that we should do it. I'm sure you'll recognise these bad examples of kind of review charts and multiple line charts as things that aren't great practice. But in the 90s, Excel became mainstream, and actually that was a trigger for people to begin visualising their data in a much easier manner than they'd ever been able to do before. They just clicked a button and Excel would produce something. And because Excel had lots of bells and whistles, you could do quite a lot without really having to think about it. So yeah, some interesting charts there. I'm not recommending that you go down that route at all. But I think it's generally acknowledged now that getting to a point where we realised that this was bad practice and we could justify why and then educate people why has taken a little bit of time. And I kind of worry at the moment that we're in this midst of another kind of technology wave. We've got things like Tableau, where you can point and click and do things relatively easily and interactively. JavaScript libraries, things like D3, where actually you can, again, knock up things relatively quickly. And it's much easier to be creative with our data visualization than ever before. So we just need to make sure we don't get carried away sometimes. What we're trying to do in our office is work to basic kind of safety first, good practice, and this applies to our static graphics, but also it runs right the way through to our more complicated graphics and interactives as well. And we found that sometimes the more complicated, so the simplest things can be the most powerful. So I don't know whether any of you recognise this data set. Yeah, the colours are a little bit weird. Probably something that you have seen at some point. It's quite famous. Anyone want to guess what it is? So it's the peak breakup times according to Facebook status updates. So you can probably start to see the shape of the data corresponding to certain times of year. But if I include some annotation, hopefully it will bring that data to life even a little bit more. This is an example from David McCandless. It's something that we talk about quite a lot in this chart because we find it quite entertaining, but also really, really useful. And we've kind of applied this technique to our own data. So this is a chart where we're looking at £1 million property sales. We followed best practice, so it's a really simple chart. There's no chart job, kind of tone back secondary elements. But we've included annotations and also a caption to kind of say what the main message is. So the fact that £1 million property sales have increased over 70 times since 1995. The advantage of charts like this is that they're self-contained. So in terms of sharing on social media, or if they want to be syndicated elsewhere, people still get an idea of what the main messages are without having to read the associated report which we produce on our website. On mobiles, you can imagine annotations can be quite tricky to deal with because they could shrink down, but what we've managed to do to get around this problem is to get them to drop off the chart itself. So they're listed underneath in the main text. We will also look at things like the number of grid lines and the dates on the axes and kind of shorten these for mobile use just so it's much easier to view the graphic. So no matter what type of graphic or interactive you're making, the best starting point is to always look at the data, and the easiest way to do this is to find the relationships that are present. So there's a list here of some of the more common relationship types, and these are the things that we look at each time we come to look at a new set of data. We're not the only ones that do this. So the Financial Times have also got this visual vocabulary sheet here, and you'll notice some of the relationship names are the same. It's the same way of assessing what is in your data and what you actually need to talk about. So once you've established what relationships are in your data, it's important to then prioritise them to what's most important and to decide what story you want to tell, or whether you want to let people tell their own story and explore the data. Which of these you want to do will create an entirely different product sometimes. Another step is to consider how to do this, whether to do it statically or interactively. And again, it's a topic that's quite widely discussed. Martin Starr has these 5 commandments that Financial Times use when producing interactive stories. So they're fairly self-explanatory, but I think the basic messages are, if you can imagine a static graphic, you should probably be using a static graphic. And it's really important to involve data viz specialists at the start of doing anything that involves your data, because they don't like it when you come to them at the end and say, can you just make this look pretty for me, please? So this is an interactive example of quite a similar chart to the annotated one, but this is actually interactive. You'll notice that annotations are kind of changing through time and highlighting the main message, which is the fact that more jobs are being paid close to the minimum wage than ever before. This type of thing is quite tricky to do without interactivity. It is possible to do it without using complicated things like D3, however. This is just an animated GIF at the moment, so things like that are widely accessible and I think are kind of underutilised really in our world. Another example of where interactivity is really helpful is if you're looking at hierarchy on data. So there's an example here on family spending. There's a considerable amount of hierarchy here, which is very difficult to visualise in a static form. Often it's just the main measures that are talked about and all the kind of detail at lower levels is lost. So there were responsive considerations that had to be made here. Just between that here. You'll notice it resizes depending on the screen size. And this exploratory tool is something that is becoming more and more useful as we kind of get to grips with just how complicated some of our data sets are. So we're always experimenting with different kinds of products, and we've looked at kind of gamifying data in the gender pay gap example, and something that we're kind of interested in doing at the moment is looking at scrollable interaction. So I think that's the screen to look at because you can't see anything up there. There's a Financial Times article that's been written on why the FT creates so few clickable graphics, and it's a really interesting read, but it's kind of considering things like automating interactivity, so you're not relying on people clicking a button to do something or typing in a postcode. Something animates kind of as soon as you're on the page or as soon as you scroll past a certain point on the page. This is a bit of a new school of thought. It's tricky because producing kind of interactive visualizations that work flawlessly can be quite a slow and time-consuming undertaking, so that makes things expensive. But in terms of kind of new product types, it can be a really useful thing to do. This new school of thought is looking at the scrolling talent, so I'll just bring up this example on marriages for you to have a look at. It relies on the user doing nothing apart from scrolling through the page. So all of the interaction is driven by scrolling telling. It's particularly useful with things like mobile phones, where everything now is driven by that kind of swipe movement. Even things like laptops, you very rarely use a mouse, or you have a wheel on your mouse or a touch mouse. So that this scrolling interaction is something that is new to us. I think this is the first thing that we've produced, but it's something that we're keen to explore in the future. So I think I've kind of given you a little bit of a summary there, but I'd say as a final point, the most important thing that you can do is kind of test, critique, be agile and evolve. So don't be afraid of trying something new. If it doesn't work, take a step back, reassess, and then try something different in the future. We work in an agile way in our office, and I probably safely say that there isn't a single interactive that I've personally produced that I wouldn't make in the same way again, had to do it again. So, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to kind of produce something, get your work out there, you know, get people using it, user test it, and then change it all the next time round. So yeah, we're like learning by doing new things all the time. If you're interested in hearing about the work that our team and our wider team are doing, and a bit more about our thought processes, we've got a great blog, this digital publishing blog, has some of our thoughts, some of our charting tips, and there's lots of different posts written by members of the team, so you get to kind of know us all individually a little bit as well. Thank you for listening. I don't know if anyone have any questions.
Thank you, Zoe. Any questions? That's great. So maybe just say a little bit about how you would package up an interactive for syndication. How do you get the JavaScript and the data and everything coming on through all to send off someone?
So we don't normally actually physically send it to someone, but because of the way our site works, we iframe kind of standalone interactive using PIM to do the responsive sections of it. And so when we're talking to people about syndication, we'll give them a embed code. Don't know, one of these examples has, it's like this embed code. We'll give that up front and kind of prompt people. Our media team is quite good at prompting people to use this. But yeah, they're kind of standalone graphics in their own right as well as being
So people embed them with iframe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, hello, that was a great talk. I was just wondering, right at the end, you said it was user tested. So how would you do that? Would you simply ask the users whether they like it, or how complex is that?
So you can do it in lots of different ways. I think at its most basic, it's kind of going to someone who sits behind you and saying, can you have a look at this? What do you think of it? Watch and then use it. But also we've started to do a bit more. We've got a user testing lab that we can use, so we can get people in and kind of watch things like iMovement and really start getting a bit technical about user testing, but also things like producing two similar products and sending both out and asking people for feedback via things like SurveyMonkey and just really being quite open. In terms of user feedback, things like Twitter are really useful because people are brutally honest on there. If they hate something, they'll tell you.
So we found that one of the biggest challenges is how to communicate uncertainty. And I was wondering if you've got any thoughts about that. I noticed that I don't think any of the stuff that you presented had uncertainty on it. So is it kind of a choice sometimes that it's not worth muddying the message? Presumably the judgment call.
I think you've probably kind of picked up on the one thing that I didn't say is in that our visual site in particular is aimed at kind of more the general public user than an expert user. So often things like uncertainty, they're not as keen on understanding. We do try and assess it in some ways, so things like life expectancy, the example there that I briefly mentioned but didn't show. We do try and kind of talk about it where possible, but yeah, often it is a judgment call, and it is tricky to do, so yeah, we kind of sympathise.
I just wondered if people kind of understood gambling odds in terms of like presenting uncertainty.
I don't understand gambling odds.
No, they 10 to 1
People buy lottery tickets, they don't understand themselves.
Any others from the floor? Yep, to the left.
So I'm wondering how you deal with situations where different pieces of context could give very different interpretations of the data. So for instance, if we go back to the European Union budget contributions, I imagine if you use the mean or the median average income for your per person per day spend on the average tax paid, it produces very different figures. So is that a judgment call, or?
I think to some respect it is. We kind of consult with business areas and kind of with our experts that know best what is the best data to use and the best figure to use, but there is an element of that. At the end of the day, you'll always have to make a judgment call somewhere with the data. So I think we're careful as much as we can be not to kind of confuse things, but yeah, there probably is a little bit of that that's unavoidable. I think it's worth saying as well, things like our annotations, we're always quite careful to word them in terms that we're not implying causality sometimes, we're just saying that there is some added context. So the fact that there's an economic recession is likely to have caused some kind of interference in the data, so we're happy in stating that. But we're not saying that it's totally dependent on the fact that there was an economic recession. So,
Brilliant. Time for just one more question. So Crystal Campbell?
Sorry if I missed it when you said it earlier, but how much data have you actually got? And secondly, you talked a lot about visualization, but are you exposing the data itself so people do their own visualizations? And if so, I propose to do that.
So, in terms of the amount of data that we have, a lot. I couldn't say for certain how much we have as an organisation, but it's kind of thousands of data tables, I believe. And it's all available on our website, so you know, all the data is available. And something that we try and do on our visual site is put links to the source here. You see, you can get referred back to our main website and view all the data used there. So if you want to do your own analysis on that topic, then the data is freely available. We try not to kind of like hold anything back. It's all open source. It's all there. And if you see something that you think should be there but isn't, you can kind of ask for it, and someone might be able to run a bespoke table for you in that way.
That's great, thank you. So we've got a couple of questions there, but I'm hoping you're around at lunchtime, I'm guessing?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I'll
So
be around
if you want to have a chat then, that'd be great. So thank you again.